Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe. And if I could, I would share donuts with you and coffee or milk, depending. Hey, Chloe. No, it's not. Somebody out there was thinking about me and wishing I would come on. Was that you? But I have donuts. I just can't share them with y'all. So, hey, Scotty boy, it was you. Yeah, I was, had been catching up on some, um, you know, not local news. It's, world news and whatever and opinions and this and that. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know, don't really want to watch anything on the boob tubey. And I had watched a couple of short videos and I'm like, there's a lot of wow, that's a weird thought that just came through my head. There's a lot of woe is me out there. And I used to be a woe is me, and it's a shameful thing. And everything is about, oh, woe is me, I'm hurting, and woe is me, my back problems, and woe is me is, and I honestly, in talking about my surgeries and heart attack and my back issues, is because there are other people that I know who have back issues and are curious as to like what the outcome is on my surgery and how my condition is doing. But at the same time, I personally is like, well, I really don't want to stress about that or talk about it, even though I do. And it's like, it's a weird. Hey, Diane, I missed you yesterday. Great big hugs right back at you, sweetie. Oh, am I allowed to say that? Golly Moses. Some of the stuff that's going on out there, and I see people kind of sort of losing their their brains. Yeah. And in a lot of ways they're losing their faith. It's like it's getting so crazy about they and them, which still does not make sense to me. I can kind of put other stuff together, but they and them does not compute. It does not compute. Um, so some of these things are making people frantic, and I can see why. And I think it's only because I'm 70 years old, and boy, that light just does not do me favor. I'm trying to not be as sitting in the dark as much kind of thing, but and even though that's a low watt bulb, not that I'm trying to look pretty or anything, but so and listening and watching and just kind of poking around the internet and seeing what the big wigs are saying and the smaller wigs are saying and what just folks like me are putting out there. Yeah, everybody doing all right, Scotty boy? I'm glad I didn't smoke myself to sleep earlier. Was going I was gonna. Yeah, I've been kind of getting stoned. We can do 220 here in a few minutes. I got I got a thing in my bowl right there. It lights up only that one side of you. Yeah, I'm kind of doing one of those profile things. Well, I do low watt bulbs, and having been in theater and stuff, and in front of the like 1,500 watt bulbs, it is staring at you, and 20 of them. Actually, there were only 10 on that one light bar, but anyway, it felt like 20. you know, Used to set lights for the local theaters. And having been on theater myself, and especially at the Thomasville on Stage, the small theater, it was less than 10 feet to the light. you know, at the other auditoriums and stuff, the lights are set up, way up in the ceiling, and it's more diffused and everything. But anyway, I digress. So, I think it's a 20 watt bulb. 25 is that's a 25 watt bulb, believe it or not. Do I look washed out really bad? like I but all of a sudden I'm worried about the amount of light on my face. It just looks weird on the screen here is all. But anyway, um just dandy. All right. I'll quit worried about it. It just looked glary is all. And I'm I'm hilarious tonight. But watching, I watched some Roseanne Barr in a couple of interviews. One was with Piers Morgan, and some of the things, there are some of the things that when I listen to him, I go, I'm kind of with you on that, And there's this gay toy boy that he had on, and a dwarf talking about the new Cinderella movie, and this is where we have to keep our faith. The new Cinderella movie does not have dwarves in it. So how can it be? Not Cinderella, Snow White. So the movie now is not Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. Wait a minute. It's just Snow White and seven magical creatures. It's like, what? So, Disney is supposed to be so woke that, and I find this absolutely hilarious, in that they didn't want to put dwarves in the movie of Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. They, oh, people are going to be offended because there's dwarves in the movie of Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. Well, then it ain't Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. It's Snow White. Well, wait a minute. It's a Spanish type girl that's Latino type that is playing Snow White when the Brothers Grimm wrote the story because her skin was snow white. So you're gonna get you're gonna get a mixed mulatto girl to play Snow White when her skin is obviously tan, so they should call her tan, so, it doesn't even fit. So, in this woke society, as people are talking about it, it's like this is absolutely brain dead. I can't believe it's brain dead. What? you know, and the dwarves are all upset because how many movie parts can they get? And so here's a potential, lucrative, business for seven dwarves, in the story of Snow White and the seven dwarves. But no, they're not gonna. They didn't put dwarves in the movie. It's Snow White and seven magical creatures or something, and she ain't Snow White. She's tan. you know. So I can understand why people are losing it, and the fact that this little gay toy boy, um, all flippant and everything. You just don't understand what I'm talking about. It's you have to look at these old stories. You keep looking back in 1931, and he kept making these remarks, and it's like, wait a minute, back in the day, the Munchkins were little people. So now, if they were to redo the Wizard of Oz, um, you know, um, you couldn't have little people playing, in the movie. So wait a minute, those little people, those were jobs for them people in Hollywood. And so now, um, they're somehow, I guess, they're doing Willy Wonka over something. So now the Oompa Loompas are not being played by dwarves either. It's all CGI and stuff. So it's like, you know, you don't want to, use honest to God real life dwarves who could use the money and the job in a movie that uses small people in the movie. Instead, um, you're going to use tall people and shrink them down CGI so you don't offend the little people. the, this is insanity. And I can see why people are like wanting to jump out of 5-story buildings, because 6-story buildings might kill them. Um, I'm sorry, I'm in a strange humor mood tonight. I'm stupid. This movie's a ripoff. All the children are going to cry. They shouldn't call it Snow White at all. I mean, that's just like, come on. And it's not like the story was written by Hollywood. It was written by the Brothers Grimm. you know, it's an old tale. And it. Come on now. So, Scotty, but rather than trying to rewrite classics, why not write a whole new story they created? Well, so what I've seen, which is just like this much of it, um, and just a still picture, like a screenshot. And I'm like, that's not Snow White. They didn't recreate Snow White. They did create a new story, and by using, I'm sorry, I, I was going to say something rude. I was going to say using the Mexican national to play Snow White. She is Latino in some way, I believe, and I'm not speaking bad about her. She's a pretty girl, picture I've seen, but it ain't Snow White. That's just all there is to it. No offense to the actress. And shame on Disney. They should have just created and named it something else, right? Forget Snow White and redoing it. It's some girl that and there's 7 magical whatevers, and it's a new story, and leave it at that. But just trying to blame it on Snow White is, oh my God. So something interesting. There's been all kinds of interesting things, but people are fed up and getting more fed up with the transgender thing. Oh, even the gays are not, like, they're pissed. They're like, you know LGB, um they would like to leave off the T. um and it's so interesting because there are transvestite people in the government. Okay. Now, there's the gay man who was one of the whistleblowers with the IRS and Hunter Biden. Okay. And he said, me and my husband feel threatened by these people in the government, the people he works for and his colleagues and so forth, and speaking, nasty things. And, there's another one out there who is, I think she is one of the national figures anyway, and talking about how sexual preferences and that teenagers, if or preteens, some if they feel that their hormones during their adolescence is causing them to feel like a female, then they should be allowed to cut their wangy off and take hormones. And for girls, it's, that you can, start taking, you know, uh, steroids and testosterone. And if you have boobies, they remove those. So, it's like, and then later on, there have been several outbreaks of people going, I wish that this had not had happened. I wish that I had, just, if I was gay, that's one thing, but to try to literally transition as a teenager before you're even 16 years old, some of these folks, and it's like it's nonsense. Just put up with it. All of us went through puberty, for crying out loud, and some of us did a little better than others, but and some folks who went through puberty found out they were gay. I went through puberty and found out I wasn't gay. So it's like, we all learn our lessons, but we all went through it. you know so what's changed now in this new century, where people of all nationalities and colors are just freaking out? Is it, is it something in the water? I mean, as an old person, I just look around at the world and go, I'm all for open mindedness and stuff. I'm an old hippie, and what time is it? Oh, we got 1 minute. Ooh, T minus two. I know, not that I'm laughing at the guys, I'm laughing at what? When I went through puberty, I think I said this in a video a year or two or three ago, and I said, I'm actually, milk came out my breast, and after having taken that medicine, my right boobie still is more firm than the left one, and not the left one is very, jealous. But my left baby is jealous of my right one. I took the medicine and it grew right overnight. I like to play with my right little booby because I'm single and I ain't had a date. But never mind. Anyway, uh, but so, and there were cracks and jokes and things, and it's like, I wasn't developed in certain ways and blah blah blah, and 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 there were jokes and gay cracks and stuff in high school, and I went through a period. Plus I had been approached by a bunch of gay men, and at the age of 13 I was fully molested. And then there were the Catholic priests that were on to me. I just knew that, um, it's one thing to have somebody else play with you. Okay, I'll keep it simple. And that can feel really good if somebody else is playing with you. All right. But that doesn't mean that, it's the right thing. For me, I'd rather it be me and a woman, turning each other on. But when you're a young, confused teenager and a man starts diddling with you, and you're like, "Wow, I'm I got an erection for some reason. This ain't right." And at the same time, it's like, man, that really feels good. But, so there's confusion in the air, but I was like, nah, I'm sorry. I'm not gay, you know. And some other friends of mine and everything and family members, they're gay. I don't have an issue with it, okay? But I ain't. Um Maybe I should be. I could settle down with an old queen. That's what somebody told me. A gay man told me years ago. But anyway, find yourself a man and just settle down with an old queen, David. You'll be much happier in life. And I was like, yeah. Well, he's since passed away, but he was 74 years old, several years older than me, but um, had after having a lifetime of being gay, he had HIV, and it finally succumbed to him. But he lasted a long while. Hey, DeRoach, how are them? Never give up. Protect your souls. Give positive power to our defenders. Yes, absolutely. Oh, hey, Katniss, how you doing? I'm going to light this up because it's 2:23. Good morning, good morning, good morning to all of you lovely people. The universe said to come on at 2 o'clock and have a chat with y'all. So here I am. Let's chat. But in reading the news and headlines and stuff, like I said, and as a watcher, it's part of my job to like keep an eye on stupid things, right? And the reaction of like the women on the View with Whoopi and all them folks, OMG, some them people ought to just be wiped off television and should not be allowed to speak because the things that come out of those women's mouth, oh my God. And there's everybody's clapping in the audience, and I don't know what the ratings are, but they're still on the air. But the fact that these women are still doing what they're doing on the View is just atrocious. On a major network, and they're all getting all this attention, and people believe them. That's the sad part. And so you have these obviously radical people like the members of the View spouting these opinions and things, and that's enough to make me want to just run screaming run screaming naked through the streets, and just this can't be happening, this can't really be true. These people can't really, honest to God, think this way and spout the kind of things that they do. Oh, we're progressives and we want to help and we want to bring people together, but then they spout this stuff that all it does is just piss you off. It is like you ain't bringing nobody together with your, I was going to say your cornpone opinions, but a cornpone opinion might actually be the right kind of opinion, which would not be theirs. I don't even read headlines. Well, I have to read the headlines. It's part of my job. I just bought a flight ticket to Thailand for 14 days. Enough craziness here in Europe for me. have, have a good time. I would love to go see, go on some of those tours to see some of the old temples and stuff. If you go, take pictures and share. It's all up. It's all to stir up emotions and keep us in separate camps. I agree with you, Scotty boy. Hey, Mark, how are you? Two shows back to back. You must be feeling good. Oh, you mean back to back night tonight? Not necessarily, but the spirits were just kicking my ass tonight. And it was like, wait a minute, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And they were like, you're off to Thailand in January. What is it with Thailand? Look at that. What are you? We too. So what is it? Yeah, and I thought I had some more of that really potent vitamin D, and I don't. So I got to get my vitamin D out as well. Thank you for reminding me. Absolutely. Oh, I learned some things years ago about Thailand, but I mean, there's just a lot of people recently who are like, we're going to Thailand, and some of there are some rumors like, if if you're a little on the weird side, woo, we like them Taiwanese little boy toys, you know, um, yeah, okay. And I don't know, maybe if that's why you're going to Thailand, have a good time, you know. I don't know. I know I've had some Thai food, from a typhoon. No, Thai food that sounds almost like Thai phone. And anyway, but many years ago, I saw some slides in a presentation about Thailand, and I was like, man, that would just be cool to go see some, maybe take a boat trip up some of the rivers and stuff, and Thailand. Okay. Now, for me, Thailand also reminds me of the Vietnam War, unfortunately, because there was a lot of fighting and stuff that went on in Thailand during the Vietnam War. Even though it's called Vietnam War, Thailand was, really in it big time. Not that they wanted to, but so it'd be interesting to go see what Thailand looks like now after all these years from the war. But anyway, so yeah, spirit does work in mysterious ways. Tonight the spirits were kicking my butt, and I was like, okay, so what's the topic? you know, I'll go to a Thai restaurant so I can fit. Well, you got to let us know how it goes if you're going on the trip. Yeah, what you still haven't answered why Thailand? Oh, I see. You're just doing a travel thing. Okay. Buddhist mode is in Thailand. Sabe, Sabe, the deer hunter. Scotty boy, I'm not sure if I saw that movie, and I was and somebody, it was years ago, they said, well, you should see the deer hunter, and made reference to it, and I was like, okay, but I don't think I've ever seen it. The show title fits it. So um, I've been I've been in quite a few states camping and traveling in, and with the carnival, it was Alabama and Georgia and Florida. We traveled around. Um, and then, with doing puppets and stuff, I traveled to Tennessee and over to South Carolina and North Carolina once. Um, you know, um, but still traveled around Georgia, Alabama, and Florida with doing puppets. And then took a big trip, up and across and through Kentucky and over to Seattle, Washington, and down the coast, and then across through Reno and down into Las Vegas, and so have made a round trip around the United States. Haven't been to Colorado or Utah or Kansas, Kind of missed the middle of the United States. Um, but been to Ohio and Kentucky and West Virginia and Virginia, and uh, been to years ago I went to Illinois and up to Chicago. So I'm not well traveled, but I have been around. But I've only been out of the country to Canada twice, or was it three times? Anyway, on business trip. So and when I went to Canada, it was mostly Russian. I found that in and and some kind of I don't mean this rudely, Islamic. Everything was in some kind of other language. I mean, the Middle Eastern type language, whether it was Iraqi or I don't know, but just every signs and restaurants, and then they'd have it down in English underneath in small print, on some of these places. But Canada is like, wow. That I was speaking with a friend of mine the other day, and I said, I I I didn't see. I saw very few white Canucks. Thinking of just pale Snow White and Canadians. And they were Russian or this or that or Chinese or or Korean or like what. And it was interesting to see this mingling of people. We were in Toronto, and and stayed several days, almost a week the one time, and got to interact with the factory workers and who were of all these different nationalities, and got to chit chat with them while working, watching on working on their machines and things, and and sort of getting a little bit of inside, you know, from the real people in Canada, not somebody, oh, there's a program. No, talk to real people, and some of them Russian women were just a delight. They were just they were a hoot. You talk about straightforward and right to it, man. They were just like that. Um, I'm off to Koh Samui. I've been on a plane. Um, I flew from Tampa to Dayton and back years ago. I used to work for Maul Aircraft and would, tug on the test pilot's arm and go, man, take me on a ride whenever you get, I want to go up. I want to go up. And I've been up in a couple of small airplanes in my lifetime, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Even though when you go through some thermals, you do that humpity bump. I always thought that I would be a hang glider, and way back in the day, I knew some folks. Well, I still know my friend Tommy, but he and I are not into flying light aircraft. But his father was. He had property literally at the end of the runway down in Panacea, Florida. Panacea, yeah, Panacea, and was like uh, less than a half a mile from the big Ocklackney Bay down there at Panacea. And he flew ultralights. His father did, and we wanted to build them and fly them ourselves, but that never worked out. But anyway, so have been up in a helicopter twice, but I paid for it for the helicopter ride, but it was worth it to be able to go up in a helicopter. So that was just cool, just zoom, going straight up. Um, so I had a friend of mine that I knew for several years, and he liked to jump out of airplanes, and he was like, "Dave, come with me. I I have what was an I was a jump master when I was in the Army up at uh, uh, up in Columbus, Georgia, there at the, I can't remember the base now, at Fort Benning. And, part of this group, and we go jumping out of the airplanes on the weekends, and you come and I'll show you, you can jump with me. And I was like, a few years ago, if I would have went. And now at 70, I was like, I should have took him up on it. I don't really, I don't really like heights. I'd probably shit my drawers, but I've been up in planes. I really like the idea of being up and looking down, but I do have some kind of vertigo issue now in my older age. But to jump out of an airplane and say Yahoo and pull the ripcord, but I trust the guy. I mean, I knew him for a bunch of years, and a nice fellow. He wouldn't steer me wrong. But come on, Dave, I'll take you and I'll jump with you and I'll teach you how to. Well, I don't know. I don't know. But I knew him for, I don't know, 10 years at least, and he'd made all these jumps, so he wasn't dead, it didn't kill him. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, what's that got to do with the craziness in the world around us? That's just it. Some people, he goes, when I'm just having a bad day or a week or something, he said, I go hire the airplane and we go up and we jump out. And when you leave that airplane and you're soaring through the air and you're flying and all your other cares just go away. And I thought, well, now that's one way of looking at it. And when you jump out of that airplane, if you're worrying about, the price of, digiforms at the moment, then you know you might forget to pull that ripcord, or anyway. But distractions or whatever. So people have different ways of dealing with their stress or with chaos in their life. So things were chaotic and we were all losing our jobs, and it was very chaotic. So, jumping out of an airplane could relieve some of that. So we don't all have the opportunity to jump out of airplanes, but there are some people who are about ready to jump out of a, 5-story building, because 6-story buildings are harder to find. I'm kidding. I have no idea, but 5 stories seems like high enough to smack yourself to death if you wanted to jump. I'd be too afraid to, get towards the edge now. But so what do we do? You know, for me, in you, if you understand what your core value is, if you understand that you are tied to the universe, if you understand that your heart and soul and your spirit, it's all it's all together as one being, and your job here on this earth is to experience your life on this earth. And I sometimes wonder for people, it's like some folks that I've talked to, they don't care to have a spiritualness about them. They're just not concerned, And I talk to them and I go, well, well, you're talking about Jesus, right? And I'm like, well, that's part of the equation, yeah, but no, it ain't just about Jesus. It's about a lot of different spiritual leaders, you know, who came from a lot of different religions, who came down, but the aliens have taught us one thing, but what? The aliens? Well, yeah, the law of one, you know, and of the Native Americans and the Hopi and this tribe and that tribe, and how they, they had, their their ancestors come from the stars. And so that most of them were not hugely warring nations. They bickered and fought amongst themselves, but a lot of them were just hunter gatherers and were trying to just survive, day to day. But the Native American elders, and not just the elders, but and the children too. But speaking with the elders, they didn't want to fight if unless they had to, kind of thing. And sometimes there were ambitious men, like there are in any nation or tribe, um, that were, oh, we need to take care of these folks over here before they take care of us, or make up some excuse to go to war with somebody. But nothing like what the European folks did or the Chinese folk did, that just like Genghis Khan. There were not folks like that in the Native American peoples. There were great chiefs, there were great warriors, but they didn't go around conquering and building monuments and things like the Europeans and the Mongols and them folks did. So there's a whole different kind of mindset. So why am I speaking about this? It's because the European type folk have a different way of dealing with chaos. Okay. Where native Indians, both North and South America, dealt with these things differently. Okay. So, was it deep meditation? You know, we could take a lesson from some of um, the the holy men in India and the Buddhist priest and the Hindu priest and some of them folks up, they're very astute with and connected with natural things. And there's Chinese folks that way too. So but it's a different feeling from the folks over there on the continent, and it's different feeling from the folks in Africa. Okay. So but then there are the native Indians, um, from the Americas. So but the bottom line to all of them is that if you want to get up there, then you better obey the Great Spirit. And is it a god? Is it, well, a lot of it is karma. If you do bad things are going to come back around and slap you. If you do good things, then good things will happen. So, in reading these Native American stories, that I do on Tuesdays with Robert V on the Milky Way, channel, and, in my discussions with y'all over the years, but in a lot of these stories, it's like the one I read the other night. The guy goes out and he gets enticed by this old woman, and she strikes him, and he turns to dust. And it was the uncle that, when he missed his nephew coming home, had to go find his brother, the world of the whirlwind, to go and get rid of this creepy old lady that kept killing people who just came to ask her, that came to try to be nice to her. And so, in the end, karma got her. And in the end, the Great Spirit, revived those who had been killed by this old woman. So she got what she deserved, you know. And in a lot of other stories too, it's sort of about they don't use the word karma, and they don't say a lot of maybe one or two storytellers might, that that you got what you deserve, kind of thing. But when the story ends, you kind of get it. They were nasty, they weren't nice, and they came to a nasty ending. He lived by himself, and never had a maid or whatever, or the story about a particular person was actually an animal. you know they were the chipmunks, or they were the mole people, or they were hawk or raven or something. And so, but the story is told as people when they're actually being, like whirlwind was represented by something else. And it was the wind, a whirlwind, sure enough. But it had a name and a personality in the story. So people can tell these stories and think in these imaginative ways. The old uncle, his brother or cousin, I can't remember right this moment, but was a whirlwind. And he actually, was called Maneater. And Maneater translates a lot of times to giants. So here was this giant, um, and his brother or, cousin or whatever was the wind. So, but anyway, so when you tell the stories, the native folks told these stories to each other about how these parables of these stories, and if you go out and help somebody, then help would came back to you, and how this one gentleman, he his every time he went out hunting, he came back and come to find out his wife was like running out of the teepee going north and doing stuff, and he finds out. So, you know, she gets her just reward. Something happened to her, but then he was like all sullen and everything. And grandmother of the tribe said, you will meet. Sit down, son, and let me tell you the story here. You're going to meet somebody one of these days. She's going to come from the west, and blah blah blah, and she'll be the best woman ever. And sure enough, within like a couple of moons, he met this young woman who came from the west, and he met her by the riverside, and they fell in love immediately and lived happily ever after. So he had this mean, ugly, nasty wife at first, and she moved on, and it was like a good thing. It's raining there. Hey, Pearl, how you doing? High vibes and cosmic hugs right back at you. I miss your little videos. Everyday thunderstorms. It's been actually dry here the last couple of days. Life is full of risk and reward. Yep. If you decide to take it, God bless my neighbor Ricky. And y'all know, if hanging out, that my neighbor is Miss Sheila. She's been on before in the middle of the night, and her hubby came over riding on the lawnmower yesterday. It was great. And then he shut it off to full of gas, and it wouldn't start up. So I had to take my big truck over there and jump him off. But God bless him. The yard looks great, man. And I did a video last night about the tall grass and everything, and I that wasn't a that wasn't a asking the universe for somebody to come and cut it. I was literally, the tall grass was teaching me some lessons. And so, but God bless Ricky. He showed up today, and he can't come through the woods. He has to go down his driveway and up the road, and then down my driveway to get here. But he cut my grass. It looks great. It looks great. And of course, I tried to give him some money, and he wouldn't take it. But God bless Mr. Ricky. He's a good neighbor. But anyway, we got to share a little bit, and and that was good. I was very neighborly with him, and going to be neighborly with y'all right now too, because I've been talking about this. But so I find, you know that since I've started this channel, And how many years now have I been doing this? Um, and how many years I've known some of you. And last week we talked about manifesting. Yep, pay your neighbors to come mow. Oh, he's been great. And like once a month is fine with me, but there's this patch right out here that it is so thick. It's like he had to put it in granny mode to go through it. Well, me and Mr. Ricky, we've got some things worked out between us. So, and I did give him something that he did take, but he wouldn't take money. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But I am so grateful and on so many levels. And it's a shame we didn't know each other years ago. Um, because I am not quite as redneck as he is, but I realize I'm really close. Just because I wasn't born here, I was born in Ohio. I'm a Buckeye, but anyway. But so what's the deal with all this craziness and stress and watching people just, you know, especially some folks who are like doing this gender association thing. And there are older folks who are just flipping out. What my grandkid, and this is true, what my grandkid, I'm not, I have to call him a they or a them, but they're my grandchild. I'm not your grandchild. I'm a cisgender something, something. And the grandparents are going, what the fudge? you know, and they're freaking out because they just want to have a conversation with their grandchild who doesn't know if they're a boy or a girl. Or maybe nothing. They're an in between. They are a they or a them. There is no gender there. Wait a minute. I thought my grandchildren, you're supposed to be giving me great grandchildren. Oh, no, 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 we can't do that. No, 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 I don't like it no more. I'm tired of waking up on the floor. No, thank you, please. It only makes me sneeze. And then it makes me hard to find the door. Uh, anyway, that's an old song. Where'd that come from? Wee doggies out there from the universe. But people are losing their faith. Well, and I don't blame them because some of them are Roman, some of them are Catholic, and some of them are of other faiths. And for Christian folks, if you're a true Christian, then this highfalutin gay stuff don't work for them at all because it ain't in the Bible. I mean, it's in the Bible. A man shall not lay with a man, blah, blah, etc. Okie dokie. So, folks and gay people who want to be Christian have, because I've known several of them and we've had long conversations about, well, I'm a gay person and I feel this way. And if God made me this way, then why is it a sin from God's point of view? Why is it a sin then if I'm gay? He made me this way. Then why shouldn't I be able to, and valid points, valid points. And so my good friend John I think he's still out in Vegas, but we had long discussions. He stayed here for a while. In fact, he was with me when I received my official name from the medicine man, and we did a sweat lodge. And so John was with me, as sort of he'd never had a sweat lodge, never been in a ceremony and all that, and he wanted to experience it. And, sort of from a point of view of like, well, he's very Christian oriented. And was this some sort of pagan ritual? Well, it was not a Christian ritual, but there was nothing like really pagan in it. It was like, wow, I thought it was going to be, yeah, there was some singing, and yeah, there was a rattle. And yes, there was a lot of steam, and there was sage, and there was, you know, we had some sweet grass at the time. And, yes, it was very spiritual, but it wasn't Christian. Um, and for me, it was like a baptism with the sweat lodge. And it was, in those terms, a baptism because of the water we used and the sweat that you dripped and so forth, and the interaction with the steam and the heat and the cool. But anyway, where Christians, if they join the church, they get dunked in the river or in a vat of water or, whatever they have to get splashed on. And so, um, but it was spiritual. That's the key. It was spiritual. And he came out of it, and I was like, so, John, what'd you think? But what's your opinion? Well, number one, maybe as a gay man, which, you know, um, did you feel that it was like good for you, bad for you? Well, it was very cleansing, and I thought it was very serious, and I could feel between me and Joe, how serious it was, and but how spiritual it was without it being a like when that we didn't kill anything or there was no praying to some deity. It was very open. It was just to the Great Spirit. So he was surprised in that the ceremony was just about the Great Spirit. And my receiving my name through this ceremony officially as Hawkeye, Two Feathers. And so, because he was an official medicine man, then it was sort of consecrated. It was like a priest putting his hand on you and blessing you, kind of thing. So, but anyway, but through that, there was chaos around us at the time. But to do this spiritual thing, which was to build this little hut, dig it out, and have a nice place to sit, get some rocks, heat them up, and then pour a bunch, get inside and pour water over them, and then and sit and have this sweat lodge. And but the cleansing of the steam, which a lot of other nationalities, as the Norwegians and the Swedes use, they have elaborate steam baths and things to relieve their tension. So in that, I was in the process of losing my job. There was a lot of crap going on. I mean, there was a lot of crap going on. I was trying to feed 7 people who were here. We were doing projects down on the river. That's when we created the fish thing down there, and we were canoeing and hiking and doing, and we were very busy, but at the same time without any money. And we were trying to support all these people and stuff and these ideas. And then one day I sat down with folks and I said, look, I just can't support you all. If you can bring money in, can you feed yourself? The property was paid for, so there wasn't an issue there. But trying to feed these people and keep things going and all of this other stuff. And I just can't do it with what little money that I had myself. So I said, I ain't running you off, but if you can't feed yourself, then you got to go someplace else. That's all there is to it. You know, I'm feeding myself barely, and I got myself in a big hole. I'm trying to help you all, but the confusion and the chaos was so bad, and some of these folks were so depressed, and they were in melancholia. Uh, I talked about this last night, and I woke up this morning. It was odd. And back in the day, in the late 1800s and early 1900s, um, and I think Lincoln's wife was treated for this, and there was an affliction known as melancholia. And they did bloodletting and different things, but it was an actual medical condition. And I thought about it this morning after the fact, and I was like, wow, that's true about melancholia. And so what we need to do is not keep each other in melancholia, that's for sure. I'm glad that all of my children are out of school. Worry about my grandchildren. Yeah, I've got a great grandchild, believe it or not. And the chances of ever seeing her are very slim, and my granddaughter won't even speak to me. So just causing bigger division. Check this out. Instead of throwing away 20 cases of food today because we got our food truck in the back freezer is out, I called Salvation Army and donated it all. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, there around here we've had issues. There was a truck that made a turn and all of its produce and everything tumped over, and we called the radio station. And within 10 minutes, when I worked at the radio station, we did this. So, but this last time, it was Marcia and I that were driving around and headed towards her house, and there were cabbages everywhere, all over the road and cases of them. And the truck driver they had tilted and he had lost the load, and so they needed him out of the road. And so it was just us volunteer people who stopped and picking up cabbage. And some folks were riding by, and I was like, hey, you want a head of cabbage? And I was just handing cabbage in through the window of the car or whatever. But anyway, different ways of dealing with stress. But one of the key things is that if you actually believe in the simpleness of the law of one. And I was listening to a podcast this evening, and somebody said, well, if you're with that group that believes in the law of one, then, you're just up on some kind of hippie trip thing. That's not exactly what they said, but that was my interpretation. So I was like, well, wait a minute now. There's a lot of native folk that believe in the law of one. But here's the thing. Was the law of one brought to the native peoples by the Hopi who believe that they're star people, the other tribes that believe in, um, the dog star Sirius, um, and, so wait a minute, our ancestors are from the stars. Let's kind of sort of get that straight, you know? But wait a minute, with all this confusion about everything's going to happen in the earth and all, and wait a minute, we have that law of one. Is it a bad law? Well, let's review it for a minute. The law of one says to do no harm to anything. Is that a bad thing? Wait a minute. So now, if your core value, you can be Jewish, you can be Hindu, don't care. But if you believe in the law of one, regardless of your religious affiliation or your color or whatever, you believe in to not harm anything. That means like trees and rocks and birds and planes. I mean, it means to do no harm. You don't need 10 commandments, you only need to follow one. So if you believe in that law of one, to do no harm, so to keep your spirit up. Do you believe it? Yes. Do you honestly believe it? Well, yeah, I don't want to harm anything. Do you believe that the law of one kind of sort of connects you to the universe? You don't have to believe in God or nothing, but you know, the whole reason for the law of one is so that, to connect you with the universe. So if you believe in the law of one, you sort of believe in a great creator or the great spirit, right? Or source, which is good. So you believe in the source of all things because of the law of one to do no harm. So it's sort of connected, right? So if you believe in this, you kind of sort of going to believe in that. I've not heard of anybody who believes in the law of one who didn't believe in a higher spiritual self or, to the universe. Okay. So to keep your craziness, what do? You remember that you believe in the law of one. What do you mean, Hawkeye? Well, if you have to repeat it to yourself at least 3 times, do it out loud. So, Hawkeye, yeah, do you believe in the law of one? Absolutely, with all my heart and soul. I believe in the law of one. Okay, that's good. But do you truly believe in the law of one? Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I don't want to harm anybody, and but Hawkeye, Dave, inside, do you really believe in the law of one? Yes, of course I do. Well, then that should be it. And you say, well, Hawkeye, well, wait a minute, this seems too simple and too silly. But it's not, actually. Because if you can believe, believe, do you have to believe in a God and Satan and demons and all this other stuff? No. Those things can exist and might exist and probably exist, but to the point though, your relationship with yourself. Do you believe in the law of one? Yeah. Then you're going to do that means that you're going to respect all things. And if you're going to respect all things, that's really good karma. So your chances of passing on and doing well on, in your transition, but good choices, right? Versus kicking people and being mad all the time and spouting ugly stuff. But if you so things are crazy and things are chaotic. Yeah, but do you believe in the law of it? Remember that? Yeah. So do you believe in, good things in the universe? Yeah. You believe in that connection, right? Because you believe in the law of, yep. Okay. Then just chill out. Take a chill pill. You know, the chaos is for everybody else. The chaos that is going on, I relate to like when we've had a lot of hurricanes. Not recently, knock on wood. But we do have storms, right? Big windstorms and stuff. And wind came through on the storm the other day, and Duggar's like hiding under the covers, and I'm dumb enough to go outside and stand on my under my little porch, and watch the storm and feel the wind blowing and it blowing sideways on my face and in the darkness there's no moon, watching the lightning and the clouds, and off in the distance, so you didn't really see the lightning but once in a while, but you could hear thunder every once, you know what I'm talking about. But like a dumbass, I'm standing outside in the storm. So it's like watching the storm from your porch. What about the chaos? The chaos is like a tornado. The chaos is this storm of events that go on around us, and how people talk, and how, and this and the trans thing, and blah 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 blah. Holy crap in a bag. So what you need to do is just grab your chair and sit on the porch and watch the storm go by. Get you some tea, grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage, but so you don't step off of the porch, you know, because there's thunder and lightning and and stuff and debris flying from the wind. So, but if you sit on the front porch, you're pretty much protected, depending on the size of your porch, right? Mine is not real big and I can't put a chair on it. But anyway, um, but to stand and to stand in the face of the storm. So right now, with all the crap that's going on, and we're all going to die, and the nukes are going to do this and that, and AI is going to take over. Oh, and by the way, hi Bob. We haven't said hi to Bob in a while. But so in all this chaos, people are crying and whining and moaning, and a lot of folks just getting downright pissed off. Which that's sort of good, but they're this discussion about who's woke and who's not, and the wokies, and oh my god, the wokies. We got the some of this terminology that's coming out these days. To the wokies of the world, what the fuck are you talking about? Wokies, is this some kind of Star Wars figure or something? I'll only cook for my family now or the homeless at Christmas. Good for you, Katniss. I thrive in craziness. It's fun to just sit back and watch people react. Absolutely, Scotty boy. And last night I was talking about, the survival a lot of times is you got to be the observer, right? Well, you got to be aware of stuff around you. You can't be just an idiot. Whether you're Delaunces I had done some days ago at a camping place. It was so amazing. Better than Netflix. I know what you mean. I'm ready to go camping again. Me and Doug it's too warm now to go camping. But me and Doug are ready, and the the clutch is still working, knock on wood. And I'm getting better at walking, still dealing with pain, but being able to walk better. Took a really nice walk around to the north side of the property today while, taking it was a big detour. And then went up and checked mail. And then dear Ricky came over and mowed the grass, and I had to help do some stuff. So it's been a busy day for me walking around and things. And here in a few hours, I'm going to be going back for another session. Might be my last, or we'll see. It's the last one on my schedule for my water therapy. So, I'm looking forward to the fall, which is just a couple of months away. We're almost in August. I mean, right now, actually, we're in dog days. At the end of July and through August, we're in dog days right now. But anyway, I used to watch the Involvers on my wedding. It's a good way to. My sister had been since she's 53 now. Wow, that's a long time to be in with an organization like that. Texas has been so odd the last 2 weeks. During the day, it's so hot you feel like you might literally die just walking from your front door, but nights have been so windy and not at all hot. Yeah. Well, out in the desert, it's hot during the day, but when the sun goes down, it gets cold. You can freeze to death in a desert at night. We ought to look forward to bailing, Scotty boy. It's nice and comfortable. Good. Yeah, it's 74 degrees outside right now. and kind of muggy, um, and a slight breeze. But it's dog days. That it is what it is. But but in all of this calamity and of all of these things, oh well, the reptilians are taking over, and the shapeshifters, and we're all gonna die, and yeah, okay, and the aliens are gonna take over, and yeah, okay, the aliens that took over a long time ago. That's something that we really need to have a discussion about. And I'm going to do a show, and the title of it is going to be UFOs, ET, UAPs, or whatever that is, and disclosure. And that's going to be the title of the program. And it's going to be discussions about, you know, and here's a little snippet of it. Um, we are already in disclosure, you know, and there are some groups are like, ET is like ET phone home, and it's some nice little critter, and then there's the other side of the camp that, you know all aliens are just here to suck our blood and leave our bodies in a pile. But here's the thing, there are 50 different types of alien races, and some of them don't even like us humans, taste wise. Wouldn't think of eating us just because we don't taste good. They're, if you want to call them vegetarians, but you know protein pills. But in this large, huge world, not just our solar system, but a neighboring solar system. It's a little far away, but still in the Milky Way galaxy. It's right over there. And there's some interdimensional beings, but they don't really want to mess with us because they're interdimensional. They just come and hang around or whatever. And I sometimes wonder why some of these beings from other dimensions, I think they're just curious. Honest to God, it's just an adventure. But then there's real aliens and real spaceships, okay? But not all of them are good. Not all of them are bad. Not all of them want to eat us, but all of the aliens, just like our government, want to exploit the planet in some way, shape, or form. And might not be bad. It might be that, for example, we have a lot of water on this planet, and that many of these spaceships use the water for their fuel. And I've watched this one that sits almost due south of me, and I have talked about this before, but it's been so cloudy recently, I haven't been able to see the dang thing. But a couple of months ago, that same diamond shaped tetrahedron looking thing was down over the Gulf, sitting there just shining and doing its thing. And but the ones that really get close to the water are the ones that are drawing up water for fuel in their spaceships. And so, oh, Hawkeye, you're just crazy and stuff. Yeah, I know, but we have to understand that this is a real thing, and it's part of the chaos. Okay, because there are factions, like, watch The Dark Journalist. He had a special on tonight with oh man, Warner, I think. But anyway, and it's on YouTube, so check it out. And some of the things they were talking about, it got my brain moving too, along with some of these other things. But one of the things we just absolutely have to understand, that with all the talk about they're going to have disclosure, pay attention. That means it's real. That means that all of the above is real. if they're going to have disclosure or we want to bring this out, that means it's already there. Okay. So if you're preparing to see something and they're going to like knock you over with some, nope, all of this stuff that's going on now and the government releasing these pictures from the Navy and all these little things and fly people coming out and, fly people, pilots, and other folks too, that I've seen this. That is the disclosure. The government is never going to say, oh, yeah. No, it's going to be like this forever because they can't disclose it, because then everybody would be pissed off that they hadn't disclosed it sooner. You see, that's the bottom line. It's like, it's shame. The government can't tell us now because they would all feel shameful, and the deep state and the this and that. So, but here's the thing, with all of the discussion of this and all of this other chaos and all of the pictures of UFOs coming out of the Ukraine and Russia and different places over there and Italy and there are a lot of hideouts over there and things. Um, and the UFOs down in Mexico, around Mexico City and the volcano down there. They've seen these things pop in and out of the volcano, 2 or 3 times a day. And so we have to put this in our language. Yep, they've been here. Yep, they're still here. And are they coming back? It depends on what you mean by coming back. Me and Duggar went to the store and we came back to the house, after going to the store. So are they coming back because they've been here before? Are they coming first time visit going to invade us all? The answer to that's probably no, because there's too many different factions of them. The last Indian Indian races book, well, there were 79 different types of alien. 79 different types that the Russians had written down and documented many years ago. So, if you're familiar with the Alien Races book at all, I think I have a PDF file of it somewhere, but there are sketches of what these creatures look like and a little description of, they like to eat people, or no, these folks, look really nasty, but they're actually very friendly. Oh, and this one looks like a praying mantis, and a big insect looking thing, but they don't want to eat you, and they're very intelligent and very kind, and but they'll scare the shit out of you. Then there are the reptilians that will eat you and look like reptilians and will run. And running might not do any good, but and some of them can shapeshift. um so it was interesting that Monique and Roseanne Barr, there was a podcast by Roseanne, and where Monique talks about that she has met some reptilian looking people in Hollywood and around and stuff, and she's like, "You see me, everybody? I've got a fat neck. If I come out and you don't see this fat neck, then I'm a duplicate." I was like, "What, Monique? Really? Okay." So it's interesting that there are a lot of folks in a lot of different places that I would not have thought of that are thinking about reptilians and aliens and white folk, black folk, um, middle folk, you know, Cubans and Mexicans and Yucatanians and Venezuelans but anyway, um, and at some point, most of them believe in UFOs. Some types they've seen them or whatever, and so this idea that you know, the things that have been blurbed out over the years and through movies and stuff, um, disclosure's already here. It is happening as we speak. So, I realized, and I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, but, and I used to, come on, we're going to do the exposure and we're going to blah, blah, blah. And I'm really, and now it's just like, guys have been telling me, this is it, dude. Watch what's going on around you. That if you're looking for the disclosure, it's happening because all kinds of little things are coming out all over the place. Pictures and discussions and all over the place. And even the government has a UFO, UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, right? UAP. Okay. So, when they renamed UFOs to UAPs, that was an admission of guilt in that they know that they're there because they had to separate them from an unidentified flying object, which could be a balloon, to an unidentified aerial phenomenon. Not just something that, no, aerial phenomena. They had to make it specific. And so, and they brought out, Elizondo and some of these other people, and ooh, and we found some wreckage, and I've been on for an hour and a half. Holy crap! Um, and so, but that were there dead aliens? Were they autopsy? But here's the thing: I'm curious that if there's this flying saucer or UAP, it can travel through the atmosphere, it can go into outer space, and probably from here to the moon or here to Jupiter or Mars quickly, relative to what we can do it. How in the hell are they crashing? I mean, what, they got bad fuses from Radio Shack. They got bad parts from, I'm just scratching my head because they found a crashed, saucer, but there's no evidence of it being shot down by any, conventional weapon, or nobody's owning up to, um, but they're seeing them. But but an alien ship has crashed. Okay, it can fly in outer space. How did it crash? Were they drunk? Did they run out of fuel? How here is a sophisticated interplanetary, at least, spacecraft. How did it crash? Why? Was it faulty wiring? um did they hit an air pocket? Are the pilots just fudged up and they don't know how to drive in Earth's atmosphere? They is it was it the fact that the alien, it was his learner's permit, and he come to Earth to practice how to drive. I don't know, but the fact is that the curiosity. Now I believe there have been wrecked spacecraft. There's one that happened over in Russia. You can see this thing sticking out of the ground, and it ain't fake. They're digging it up and moving it and putting it on a truck. Um, and it happened many years ago. I can't remember the name, but here's this spaceship stuck sideways in the snow, and Russian soldiers digging it out to put it on a truck, tractor trailer thing on a flatbed. So, but anyway, was it how did they how does a sophisticated something like that crash? Just a curiosity. I don't know. But I would love to talk to some alien. I wish they had a show, aliens talking about, well, we lost another ship in the Arizona desert yesterday. And the damn thing just ran out of quartz crystals. And, the pilot was supposed to have gassed up while he was over in Egypt, but, declined to do so and made a hop skip over the Atlantic and landed in Arizona. And son of a bitch, if he wasn't on a fuel, and he just crashed right into the desert. So much like Blanco Lirio's channel, who follows, downed aircraft, we've lost two more, spaceships in the Ukraine due to them stupid idiots that have gotten those new carpet bombs. They dropped some by accident and took out two of our units. And word is the higher ups are really pissed. So that's our take on crash spaceships for today. Tune in tomorrow for more galaxy updates on how they fucked up Jupiter. you know, but anyway, so I can just hear well, why did we lost another spaceship there, Silas? And them goddamn engineers, they think they know every fucking thing, Then that new flux engine that we put in that type 2, he had no business in flying low as he was doing. And the dumbass was trying to do some kind of hiccup maneuver he saw on Star Trek of all goddamn things. And this dumbass and fresh out of the damn cat crashed that brand new spaceship with that brand new engine in it. I'm telling you, that flux core ain't cheap. Lord have mercy. Oh, I can hear the aliens talking about it now. For resources, right. I believe that, Mark. I do. It's good to see you. Travis, hey, well, if I was going to take over a planet, I would see the planet with obsolete tech that I could just show up and take over after the people use that tech for themselves. Chloe says, I reckon it's an atmospheric change in the pressure, kind of like the Titan submarine. Oh, that was that the Titan submarine thing. That's just a bad thing that have happened. But hopefully it'll show some folks that yeah, we have the tech to build some really strong stuff. But what I know, this is sort of off topic, but as an engineer myself, as someone who has worked with those types of tubes, but on a smaller scale, they were used for desalination plants. In fact, I've got one of those carbon fiber tubes up in my attic in my shop outside. And how it's spun and how it's woven and the kind of um, epoxy the resin that they use. And one of the things that I noticed that in these tubes that I have, I've got at least one, I might have two, but they're in a crisscross pattern. And so it goes down and like this, and then it comes back and it comes this way. And so it's a crisscross pattern back and forth across this tube. What I noticed from watching the videos on how they did the carbon tubing for this submarine, they just went just in a row, just straight down. Got to the end, and like a typewriter, it came back and wove it like that. There was no crisscrossing of the carbon fibers. And I was like, wait a minute. The carbon fiber tubes that they use for desal plants are all crisscrossed because they learned that the high pressures will burst these sons of bitches in a heartbeat. And you can't just roll them this way. You have to crisscross the fibers for extra strength. And so, the desal plants uses a really high pressure to push the water through these membranes to take the salt out, right? So you get fresh water. So, but anyway, so here are these guys who are building a deep submersible submarine, and it's not near carbon fiber, okie dokie. But this technology that I was used for these desal is 30, 40 years old, and how they use the carbon fibers and how the carbon fibers must be, crisscrossed in there, is it'll roll down this way and it's going in this direction. It gets to the end and the fibers go this way. And the resin and the other thing is the titanium and how it was attached to the cylinder. I thought was just stupid. Close it in. It wasn't bolted in, I didn't see. There was no ring around the carbon tube to like secure it on the outside. I mean, there were things that I just saw and I went, wait, oh, this is slick and it's made out of titanium. So big deal. And carbon fiber, again, big deal. But how they wove the carbon fiber, as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, no wonder the thing went boom." But anyway, um, but here's the thing: we lost 3 or 4 billionaires in his son. That's a tragedy. I'm not speaking badly about that. That's a shame. It really is. But we learned a lesson. We learned a bunch of lessons. We learned a bunch of lessons. And a lot of people learned a lot of stuff about titanium and composite hulls that had no idea what those kinds of things were a couple of weeks ago. So we have learned a lot from this tragedy, unfortunately, but we've learned a lot. And I hope that this tragedy will save other lives. But anyway, enough said. And I think there are a bunch of engineers that have spoken up. As an engineer myself, I'm like, what the hell did you guys do? No, the carbon fiber thing, I think, is a good idea, but how the end cap fit on and all that, I saw flaws in that. You know, you've got something that's very rigid like the titanium, and then you've got this tube that's more than likely to want to fluctuate. But the two of them, anytime you have two dissimilar things, they're not going to match up. One's going to do one thing, so the titanium will react to the heat and or the cold and the pressure one way, and the carbon fiber is going to react in another. So if one expands even by a millimeter or a half a millimeter or whatever, if it expands or contracts simply because they're dissimilar materials, okay? Period. But these dissimilar materials, so one gets a little bigger, one gets a little smaller, and then poop, off you go. So I thought that in and of itself and how they put the two together, even though they were machined and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, yeah, but they're just epoxied in there. There's no bolts or this or that. So I was really surprised and disappointed in these folks who at some point I guess they apparently thought that it was just cool and look how nice it looks on the outside and all that kind of stuff. But should have been tested. There should have been some other things. And my thing is, would you put that much faith in some epoxy cement to like seal you into this thing and you're going to be 12,000 feet down, 20,000 leagues, but, anyway, so enough of that. But so, that's one of those, it was a catastrophe, a catastrophe. And could have been prevented with just some stuff, but could have been prevented. But at the same time, there's going to be lessons learned. Just saying. And I think there's going to be lessons learned in different levels that people ain't even aware of. You know, it's gonna it's gonna um, cascade down, um, and going to affect other industries on how they view things. Well, maybe I don't have enough safety concerns for my people. Well, we're not going down 12,000 feet, but let me rethink this, or maybe our process. Have we rethought our process? I'm just saying, man. There's this bowl is getting empty. But so the calamities create the chaos, and then the Navy didn't say anything for several days because they weren't sure whether that boom or whatever they saw on sonar was actually. And it wasn't until they saw the scraps that then they came out, and but they were very quiet and they didn't say nothing. And it was like, so that's just ripe for conspiracy nuts, right? And for many of us who were still praying that these poor folk were still alive and they would be found, had been dead for several days, that it had already imploded. And so it's like, so the whole world was kept at this peak moment, if you will. And where are the aliens when you need them? Maybe Spock and Kirk, transported them out of there just before the thing blew up. Who knows? We may never know that part, but anywho, so how do we keep from freaking out? We just sit on the front porch and kind of watch the storm go by. And if you got a rocking chair, just sit there and rock yourself and watch what's going on. But it doesn't mean you got to get upset none. You know, I'm sitting here kind of rocking myself back and forth. I don't have a rocking chair. I guess I might have to get one or make one. That would be cool. So rocking in your rocking chair on your front porch, you just take in the craziness and go, look at them damn folk out there, look at them damn crazy people, look at them folks drive by and waving and whatever. Look at them crazy people out there. And don't fret yourself none. Because if it doesn't directly infect you, oh, they got 3 new vaccines too. Ooh. And the flu shots are not just flu shots anymore. The flu shots are flu vaccine shots. They've added vaccine to it. And there's a flu shot vaccine, and there's the COVID vaccine. Wait a minute. I thought the two weren't they the same thing? Um, but now you got it this season, you have to have 2 shots. And then there is an MRI something shot. What? So the CDC is selling right now, for your convenience, 3 new vaccines for your partaking this fall. Okay. Look what the last ones did, and people got sick, and not me. I haven't had a flu shot in years. And I talked about this before, but it brings up with all the health professionals that I've talked to with 2 operations and my heart attack and all these other things. No one has questioned when asked, have you had a flu shot? And I say, no, I'm allergic to them. That's been it. Nobody's like, well, oh, let me go put a mask on. Nobody has freaked out at all. In the hospital, 2 different hospitals, separate, and when I had my colonoscopy, nobody has said a word about my not having shots. None of the nurses, none of the doctors. Well, okay then, and one nurse was like, good for you. But with all this stuff, so where there seems to be panic in some areas, two hospitals down here and all the staff and everything. Not so. There might be personally people freak out because there's some people who are still wearing masks. I mean, just everywhere. Okey doke. It's your right. But it's a ball of confusion. Ball of confusion. Who sang that one? All right. I just walked in to see what condition my condition was in. But anyway, so humor is one good way of fighting through the craziness. And listening to Roseanne Barr today and Mystique in that interview I listened to, I was like, you know what? I said, now that, people are afraid to have humor anymore, and people don't understand satire anymore. Um, it's sort of gone out the window in a lot of respects, which is a shame. But so the gone are the days when you can really just get a belly laugh and somebody tell a political joke and not get upset about it, or tell a fat joke and not get upset about it, or oh, somebody says racial slur. Okay, so if a white person tells a joke about a taco stand, whoa, wait a minute, taco stand, white man, oh, that's white supremacy. He's going to talk about Mexicans, you know. Wait a minute, I mentioned a taco stand. It doesn't matter. There are certain people who are going to react that a white person mentions a taco stand. It must be a racial slur against the Mexicans. Well, why not? There's so many of them crossing over the border that we're all going to have to learn a second language. My great grandfather's homestead on the 38 parallel. Oh yeah, was saying answer what a woman is. Yeah, that what did you say? You saw it, Scotty boy? Boobs that droop to your waist, and uh, uh, what a something about her vagina or whatever, that's something because she had 5 boys, ungrateful children anyway. Um, but yeah, that's what a woman is. So if you watch that same one with Piers, what you call it? Yeah, she's as crazy as ever, and she's Roseanne, and gotta love her. Might not agree with everything she says, but when her and Monique started talking about reptilians and spaceships, I was about to die. I was like, holy crap. So even Roseanne and Monique and other people are like, they're, I thought it was just like crazy people like me and you that believed in aliens. How could a star comedian like Roseanne believe the way she does in aliens and reptilians and and shapeshifters and shit? And I'm like, what? You know, and Monique, I was like, what? So the fact that there are people, I guess that I would I wouldn't have um, thought that they would be in my camp, in my club, in my way of thinking, right? Or that they would be aware of aliens, or or reptilians, or the eyes, or whatever, and it wasn't a big conversation, but it was obvious the two ladies knew what they were talking about. So with that said, I was like, wow. And then there are other people who I have been just popping in and seeing what they're chit chatting about, right? And some of them were the reaction to Monique and Roseanne. And so there are different people, different races having different reactions to their conversation. And I'm thinking to myself, so here are people that I would not have expected for whatever reason, a tall black man in his 40s to believe in reptilians and I just what? Not that you can't believe it, but I just thought it was me. And I don't have a basement, so I can't be down in the basement on my computer all day long, but actually I was up in the attic, but um no, but the idea though that there are it ain't just a certain, God, I hate to use this word, but a certain class of people that believe in aliens and stuff. It's a bunch of us and up and down the scale with all different types of professions, teachers, people. But the biggest thing that I realize is that some of the people that have spoken up are intelligent people, but they are basically working class. Okay. Now, there's some doctors and some physicists who've spoken up, but because of their professions, they don't chit chat about aliens too much. But now a truck driver, or a contractor, someone who builds buildings, or carpenters, or folks in certain businesses, like a finance business, and they're working as a comptroller or something, and they mention aliens or something. So, but it might not be the CEO of the company, but the workers, So there are different classes of people, what I mean, and of all different races. I was sort of surprised, sort of, how many shows I poked on where there were black men and a couple of black women who were very aware of the situation, if you will. And I'm like, I guess maybe that's a white supremacist way of looking at things, and only white people would think about ET or UFOs. And I was surprised at how many black men, and their astute conversations. And I was like, thumbs up, gonna like your video. And I like the way you spoke. You spoke in a clear way and communicated with me as a person, and gave your evaluation and were respectful, and wow, that's good. It ain't just some of us old white supremacist people. I mean, see, I don't think about race. If you believe in UFOs, I don't ask what nationality you are. I don't ask for your skin color. And in meeting people and talking with people, I have met black folk that believe in UFOs, and that kind of thing. But as in the general conversation, as in the general population, all right, how many black folk believe in UFOs? And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I don't think of it as race. All right, now, how many of you Chinese folk out there believe in UFOs? All right, now, how many of you Islander people, which is different from China, and how many of you people believe in UFOs? All right, now you Mexicans, raise your hand. All right, now you silly ass white people, raise your hands. So I think, but when I look at the general, for me, I generally just look at people. How many people? And some of them had to be black, and some of them are green, and some of them are purple, and who cares about what color or nationality? But in just noticing today when I was, looking at folks and remarks and things and listening to people I'd never heard of before, I was amazed at just how many folks were, were black. And I'm positive. I was like, wow, this is great. It's just not a bunch of white guys sitting around talking about it. No, it's wow, intelligent. Wow, just like they know what's going on with the children. Yes, sirree. But they have nice high tech. Yeah, that's true. And having this computer and being able to speak with you now, and some of the electronics that has gotten so miniaturized, it's hard for me to comprehend. Number one, that you can build something that small, like a diode and things and resistors that are inside these electronic devices, and capacitors, and just the well, I already said diodes, but resistors, and so and having you know uh, taken a couple of electronics courses, and I mean very basic. I can name these items and sort of describe what they do. And I've got a book, and I've taken a bunch of things apart. And but so over the years, I started out with tubes and televisions, and TVs were this big. Okay, if you had a 20-inch television set, it weighed 150 pounds. Now I bought this big old 40-inch television set that weighs like 16 pounds, and it's this thick, where the other one, was took up a whole room, and you had to bang on the thing, and the tubes had to warm up, and oh my God. So I lived through the end of the tube era into the transistor era. And come to think of it, the first transistor radio was from Japan. You know, it come from Japan. It's no good. Because we just fought a war with Japan. So, but if you wanted a transistor radio back in my day, it was from Japan. you know. So, but anyway, and it was thought to be a piece of trash. Oh, it's from Japan. Nah, piece of trash. Oh, from Japan. No good. Well, a lot of us, the only transistor radio we could get was from Japan. So a lot of us teenagers, we didn't care. Oh, it's from Japan. Yeah, but it works, you know. And you had one earplug that barely worked in your ear, not like earbuds and stuff like that. But anyway, we were happy, you know. Um, but for in my 70 years to have literally watched the transition from tubes to tiny little things, memory sticks that are this thin and this big, and you can watch movies from the dang things. If in the future somebody found some of these little chips and stuff, they would look at them and go, what the hell is this? If you saw a television, you go, ooh, there's a screen. But if you find these little chips that I've got several of them, one's like 64 gigabyte or some crap like that. I'm like what? For pictures off of my camera and things and stuff, and what you call it, sent me a whole library of books in PDF form on this little stick over here. I'm tapping on the computer that I read some of the stories from, right? And it's like, but wait a minute. I mean, yeah, how much memory? What can you do with it? And in my lifetime, I've gone from reel to reel tapes to tiny little devices that store hours and hours of not just voice recordings, but of video as well. Whole movies in high def. Oh my God. So, where do we go from here? You know what I mean? How much, but the fact that the tech has gotten so small, I think we had help from the ET. The mechanics, the machining, how you build them, the technology to do those things in miniature. I mean, look at your cell phone. Have you ever taken a look on the inside of an old cell phone or whatever? And all the little things under this, under that. It's a radio transmitter, for crying out loud. Look back in the days of World War II. If they wanted to talk to each other, they had huge walkie talkies. You know, remember, the watching MASH in the Korean War and how they had these great big walkie talkies and stuff. And now we have cell phones that are these tiny little things, and and we can use some of them can be used for walkie talkies if you've got a certain app or whatever, and you're in the neighborhood, you can walkie talkie back and forth. And they've had that for years too with cell phones when they first came out, that you could walkie talkie them. And I knew some annoying people that had them. But and it was always loud, you know. So I think ET has helped us out. Absolutely. I mean, look at Velcro. That's supposed to be a joke, but heck, my video is oh, but heck, my video is 4K. What is UHD? Oh, ultra high D, high def. Like to fight with a wooden bow against cyber laser weapon. Yeah. And like, one of the things that has amazed me over these last few years is I've talked about it, but is air guns and air weaponry. Not just guns, but like there's it's sort of like a crossbow. Actually, I guess it is a crossbow, but it wouldn't be a bow because you don't need the bow. But it shoots a rod instead of a, you know, so it looks similar, like a bow in crossbowish, but it's actually, air powered and sling a rod, like whoa. So, but I've got a 22 over there that's ultra high, and it shoots at 1,200 feet per second, um, air gun, and it's got um, a barrel on it that you can put 10 pellets in, and for it, you cock it one time, it's a break barrel, but you pull the barrel down and bring it back up. And as it comes back up, it loads the next pellet in so you don't have to fumble. But the thing is that it sounds like a 22. Not that sharp repeat, but it's got a nice little crack to it. But I've got 3,000 rounds of bullets, and it takes up this much space because they're in those round containers. So I can go hunting and put a couple of these pellets in my pocket and load 10 of them in my pellet rifle and go hunting for squirrel. And it doesn't sound like a 22, but there isn't, like I said, there is a noise. but I don't have to buy ammunition. So they've got some air rifles now that are shooting 50 caliber, you know? Um, you have to go down to the store and fill up an air tank on the side of your air gun, but it'll shoot a 50 caliber bullet, and that'll kill a hog, They ain't fooling around. So it's like, oh my God. So some of this technology, which is simple, it's air, it's compressed air, and it's compressed air in a certain way that it will shoot a projectile. I think that's phenomenal, where for 2000, the Chinese have had, fireworks for a long time, and they've been using cannons and stuff like that. Not necessarily firearms, but they've been throwing stuff, pack the bottom with Vaseline. Oh yeah, you know about that trick too, huh? Are you talking about shoot air pellets? Yeah, air guns do that today. Yeah, pack the bottom with. Yeah, Travis, you know about that trick too. And it was explained to me that I mean, it only takes a dab of Vaseline or any kind of light oil. Well, you could use a heavy oil. That's all you had, but it only takes a, a half a drop in the back end of the pellet, because under the pressure, the petroleum in it will explode, much like a diesel engine works. Diesel engines work under high compression, and so when it compresses really, really, really tight, then the gasoline explodes or the diesel explodes. So it works on the same principle. But yeah, Travis, yeah, it booms. Yeah, it makes enough noise as it is. So, but what I was surprised when I first shot it was how much the damn thing kicked. Now I got another. Mine are both Gamos, and I got them on sale from Air Gun Factory or something online, and they're a couple of years old now. But I haven't been able to fire them because of my heart condition, and then last thing, and then having the back surgery. But hunting season's coming up, you know, and I want to do at least target practice to get my back and you know and get my strength back, because it takes a little bit to cock the damn thing. But I'm not much of a hunter, like sure enough killing stuff. Um, but I really do like target shooting. I love target shooting, and just shooting at a single target each time, like repetitious, like a firing range. Yeah. But me and some folks set up years ago, and we were just using, BB pistols and the air guns that weren't near as complex as they are now. 177, and the crossman, you put it in the top and, cocked it. And, but for target practice, now you, the air rifles that I had were still very low, but you could still kill a squirrel with them back in the day. So, but anyway, I much liked going and just, pinging things, ping, ping, pang, ping, ping, so we'd set up little courses, with stuff to, old tin cans, and we're going to shoot at that old radiator over there because I got a lot of junk around here. And so we're going to set this out over here. We're going to shoot at that. So that's what I want to do this fall. There's some other people who are in the same frame of mind as me. So I got some things um, to set up that bring your air rifle. Let's go pinging. Let's go. Go down through the trail and here's where you stand and there's where the target is, and I got a wheel to check how many feet it is. Is that 417 or 411? 11. So we got a few minutes to hit this ball, and it'll be a 420. But so I'm looking for just doing the target practice thing, and I've got a 177 and my 22. So if somebody doesn't have a rifle, you can use one of these others, and we'll go pinging. And my friend, my next door neighbor, I'm not sure if he has an air rifle or not. I might have to ask Ricky. But anyway, so a good way to get out, a good way to take the stress off of you, a good way to remember the law of one. Because if you're pinging at tin cans and stuff like that, then you ain't killing nothing, you know. So you're sticking with the law of one, and I see nothing wrong with with shooting firearms just for the hell of it. My brother has been a firearm person all his life. He went into the Navy, and he shot really big, 50 caliber guns off the off the side of the ship kind of thing. I got the Whisper camo, then dieseled it, and it blew the plastic off the back. Oh my God! But a lot of power than it was designed for. Whoops. Yeah, you got to be careful with for mine it shoots a 22 pellet normally at 1200 feet per second. That's really good when most 22s are at 850 to maybe 900. This one shoots at 1200, 1250 supposedly. So if you put a dab of oil on the back of that thing, it's going to be 1500. A good, which is really going to give you a kick. So especially for little old 22. But I got to say that this Gamro that I got is really well built. It's heavy, and the one thing that I don't like about it, there's no place that you can attach a strap to it. So you have to carry the goddamn thing. You can't sling it. You can't put it under you, you can't your back or whatever because there's nowhere to attach a strap to it. You have to carry the god dog thing. And it's heavy, and it's heavy. Lethal though, Scotty, be careful. Yeah, if I shot one, I would eat it. Shoot what? Duggar the hunting dog. Oh shit, you should have seen him take off after the deer the other day. Holy shit. He about went through the wall. Man, oh man. And I mean, they were standing right out here. there's a a doe and a fawn. And the last couple of days, not today I haven't seen them, but the other day, looking out the window, and I could see the doe cross, and I was like, "Whoa, there she goes!" And then just seconds later, I moved back and forth, and I got a little narrow window of being able to see up the hill, and there come the doe, I mean the fawn out from my field of vision and walked up the hill. Well, Duggar didn't see them, but then they just a little bit later on they came down the hill and crossed down all the way in front of us down here. And then when he saw him out the window, he was going nuts. But when I did let him on, he ran out to where he saw the deer and chased their scent up and down. I mean, he had a ball. And he didn't go far down in the woods, so I'm assuming they had already trucked on somewhere else. But I remember one night we'd both seen a deer. It was a buck, and Duggar chased him all the way down to the river, a long way down, barking. I could hear woo 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 because he was hot on the tail of that deer, man, of that buck. And they went down the property line instead of through the woods. But I could hear him, because that was back before the operation. So I half chased him down to the corner down here and could hear him splash. I could hear Duggar splashing, and he was still chasing him all the way down to the river. He finally came back, Duggar did, but he chased that buck for a long ways. And the buck I saw the other day was a pretty one. Now his rack was all pulled in, pretty deer. And the doe and the baby, they look good too. But that buck the other day, boy, it's at least let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's at least a 6-pointer and probably more like an 8. Pretty buck. So is that a deer? His tail's up. But anyway, that'll take some stress out of you. But we got all kinds of wildlife around here. So we got armadillos that dig up the yard. We got raccoons that come through, and I got a feeding dish just right outside the window for the cats. And at night, possums will come up and eat out of it. I don't know if I told you, y'all, but I've even noticed there's a box turtle that comes up and eats the smaller bits of the tiddly bits that the cats chew, and there'll be little crumbles. And I've seen a box turtle come up and eat out of the bowl. It's amazing. So there's all kinds of critters that get fed out right out here with that where I feed the cats. So there are possums at night and raccoons and you know armadillos don't normally eat out of there because they eat grubs in the grass. But you know I don't know what else would come up at night to eat out of it. But um, we do have bobcat around here. So if things were looking rough, a bobcat could be up here eating. I know during the daytime, the birds come down and eat out of the cat's dish. So there are all kinds of critters that, you know, eat up around here. And one thing, when I lived in Tampa, you know, it was a neighborhood, but there was still, little bits of woods and things and stuff, and the houses were close together, but not too bad. And we had little fields and little lots that were vacant back in the day. Oh crap! Oh, there it is. But there were skunks. I remember one time there was a skunk that was underneath our car, and just before we were going to school, and none of us would get in the car, you know, and none of us would chase it away because we were afraid of getting squirted. So we were late for school that day, is all I remember. And that black and white skunk underneath our Plymouth, our 54, 55 Plymouth, but 2-door. But anyway, but I haven't seen any skunks around here. I know there are, but I have in the 40 years that I've been here, I've not seen a skunk in this neighborhood. Saw one rattlesnake way back. I do know that there are moccasins around. We've got hawk, we've got woodpeckers, we've got all your normal bird types. Not all of them, but we've got cardinals and blue jays and not redbirds. I, you know, Redbirds pass through, but resident birds, mostly are the cardinals and some of the small wrens, and we've got resident, ladderback woodpeckers and things. So there is wildlife here. Oh, it's 421. Happy 420, everybody. I'm almost out. Yes, possum. Yep. Damn things used to eat my chickens, the possums, and the eggs. Ooh, that's a good one. Lucky Charms. Tasty little bitty there. So yeah, we've got opossums, and there's some crazy looking things. Let me tell you. And especially when you see little babies clinging on their back and stuff, it's just weird. But um, they killed a bobcat here 15 years ago, probably, and that sucker was huge. It stood, it stood a good 20 inches from paw to the top of the shoulder, and it was at least 20 inches and long. And I was thinking bobcat, yeah, be about yay long and so big, and little pointy ears kind of thing. Nah, this thing was like, it was huge. And for all the years that I've been down here, I've never seen one. And all the times I've been down on the river and just slept on the ground, without any protection or anything, and and all the wildlife, and I just never thought about it. But now that I'm getting more ready, I oh my God, I gotta update you on my bass boat thingy. It's a horrible bass boat. It's a horrible little thing. In a lot of ways, I wish I'd never bought it. But my friend needed money, and I needed something that was registered so that I could put my motors on them. And I got it. And it's got its own trailer. So, but I fixed it, needed a plug, and it was going to cost me a bunch of money and shipping and this and that and the other thing. But needed a plug for the plug that keeps to let water out of the boat. But if you don't have the plug, it'll sink the boat, right? So I looked at the hole. I got out my dial calipers and went in my shop and found a bolt that was just the right size and literally threaded it into the plastic, a steel bolt about yay long. And it was 610. And I tapped that sucker in there with a washer on it. And I mean, it had to go in there and in there and in there and in there. So if this puppy leaks, it ain't going to leak much. And instead of having to order all these parts and go to this thing, and it was going to be however long to deliver this, whatever the plug was, I have no idea. I made my own. A little bit of, redneck engineering. And it's tight. The plug is tight in there. I had to use a wrench to snug it up. So I seriously doubt if it's going to leak. But so here I was the last couple of weeks after buying this thing. I've been paying for it for the last 4 months now to help them out. But so I'm like, well, if I'm buying this thing and we're working on the title and everything, and it's ready to go to the river, and I'm ready to go to the river, and I've got batteries and I've got trolling motors, and my buddy shows up the other day with another, almost a brand new trolling motor, 40-pound thrust thing, and in really good condition. And he's like, well, a buddy had a buddy, and I gave it to me, and I decided to bring it to you, so happy birthday early. So now I have two trolling motors on the back of this little plastic boat that's a bass hound. And me and Duggar are going to go to the river soon, especially now that I found a plug, so the boat won't sink. you know, that was one of the things that was keeping me from going, other than my back is sore and I need to get more strong. But so I found some things and fixing up the boat to go down to the river, and I can use my trolling motors, and me and Duggar can just, you know, walk around the boat, and I can take pictures and video and stuff. And it's not near as cramped as the kayak is. I love my kayak. Don't get me wrong. I am not giving up my kayak, but I would like to do some videotaping, and I could, I can literally set up a tripod in this thing, and with the trolling motor, I can move around. Uh, I love paddling, but I don't have won't have to worry about it. But I can also go on some other places too, and do some exploring. And it'd be nice to just go brrr, real quiet and sneak up on things like alligators and whatever, and be able to sit on a chair and maybe do a little fishing along the way. So in the canoe or the kayak, either one with Duggar, it's just like almost impossible to do. And so I'll have a lot more control. And the thing ain't but 10 foot long, so it's a short little boat, a two-seater. Me and Duggar, I don't know. I haven't put Duggar in the boat yet. We'll see. But I feel like we'll work it out. We'll work it out. It's got places for batteries, and I got two batteries, two 12-volt batteries, and now I have two 12-volt trolling motors. So one of the questions, hey, let me ask this to you, old gray Merc 25. Oh, yeah? Let me, all right, Scotty boy, let me ask you, here's a technical question. All right, let me light this cigarette and ask you this question. Boy, has this been a varied discussion for this morning. But, hey, take your trolling motor out and go out on the lake or the river. And, if you don't have one, go get somebody, and that'll help take the stress out of you. But anyway, so now I've got a 40 pound, and my old one is a 34 pound. Now I've mounted them both on the rear of the transom, and one's got my buddy literally cut it off so it was shorter. So it will only go so far down. It's got a really short draft on this trolling motor. And why he did it, I don't know. He never put the boat in the water, so how would he know how long the. Anyway, so it's got a short shaft. So the top of the prop is barely below the bottom of the boat. That's how shallow it is. And now this newer one, the 40 pound, it's regular and it can go a lot deeper. So my question, if I run them both at the same time, which I intend to do, and there's enough room to keep my props from hitting each other, right? If I've got 40 pounds on one and 34 on the other, does that mean I can add the two together? And will I get 70 plus pounds of thrust? Or will it'll just be 50 pounds, What's your 10 cents on it? Well, the one will barely clear the bottom of the boat. The other one has a much longer stem and will go deeper, which is good because the 34 pound. No, they're lined up side by side. So they're lined up. Yeah, they're side by side on the transom. So what I want to do is have a really simple something so if I move one, it moves the other one, you know? But the biggest thing is that I would use them if I want to make a long haul and I want to get somewhere like across the lake or something, and I'm not going to be turning and doing all that. I just want to be able to go long haul as fast as I could go just to get there, you know? So I want to go upriver and then float down. So I want to just haul ass. So I turn them both on and get there. Now, when I get there, then I only use one to maneuver. See, so I don't get myself in trouble. Because turning them and all that to be the props would be running into each other and all that. But my question though is, if they're both lined up, will I get 70 pounds, or is running two motors? I mean, you can run two gas powered motors to get combined, when people run two or three engines, on some of these boats. So I'm assuming that if I put the trolling motors in the same kind of configuration as a couple of gas powered motors on these bigger boats, and link the steering together, um, I should get 70 pounds of thrust. I should be able to push this little boat right on down right on down the power has to be the same or you will get pulled in one or the other. Yeah, but one is more powerful, so it will go in circles or constantly turn. I see your point. Yep. The props look exactly the same. Okay. So, but I could see where one side's going to push faster than the other. So, I instead of it going in circles, I might be able to compensate by turning one. If it wants to go to the right, we'll say you could compensate maybe by turning the motor a little to the left or something. But that's a good point. That's a good point. One strong, if they both of the motors would have to be the same size, or or I run the 34 pound at on 5, and I run the 40 pound on number 4 setting. So it doesn't, I don't, if I get it. So I could run the 40 pound one click slower to compensate for the fact that they're both not the same size motor. So I might not get 70 pounds. Actually, it would be 74 pounds. But so if I turn the 40 pound down to 34, to where they're more the same speed, then I could get 60, 34 times 2. So I could get 68 pounds. So I might be able to, one on the front, one on the back. Maybe if they were in a straight line with each other. Well, they're direct, yeah, straight line. They're side by side on the back of the boat. To plane the boat out, they need to be lined up with the bottom of the boat. Yep, I got that. So, but anyway, so I think I could slow the 40 pounder down to match the speed of the 34 pounder on high speed. You know what I mean? We'll see. That it'll be an interesting experience. So if nothing else, I'll have two. So my next other thing, it's got a place for a trolling motor on the front of the boat. So that would be my next thing, is that I would move the smaller of the two, the 34 pounder, to the front of the boat and use it for maneuvering. But like I told my friend the other day, I said, I'm not used to having a trolling motor. I'm 70 years old. I've not had any of these gadgets. I've been fishing out of a canoe or a kayak, and where you turn with a paddle, you know, and you maneuver and you drift into places. This idea of maneuvering with trolling motors and all this kind of stuff, it's way out of my league. I'm going to be happy just to be able to turn it and say, well, if the wind is turning you in the wrong direction and you want to stay in one spot. That was the biggest problem with the canoe or the kayak. You always had to back, if you wanted to stay in one spot, you always had to back yourself up. So I could see the trolling motor, you can put it on low and with a small current and just kind of idle in one spot and fish. That's that's great. But for me, about all this maneuvering and stuff and blah blah, maybe I'll change my mind after using this little boat for a while. But we'll see. But anyway, so, um, but yeah, I would damn sure want to go down to the river and, do some videos and show the swamp. And I haven't seen it in a year. So it'd be really nice to be able to go back to my old, kayaking spot and put in. Um, I really want to go paddling. So, and we might still do that too. But anyway, all right. So I've been at this for 2 hours and 35 minutes. Trolling motors are for bass and quiet. Yep. Drop it in the water and figure it out. Yep. If I can't run the two of them at the same time, kind of thing, and after going in circle with one being stronger than the other, oh, that makes perfect sense. But it'll give me the opportunity to mess with it. you know, it'll give me I got two batteries. I did not know till the other day I was going to have two trolling motors. I had thought about buying another trolling motor that was more powerful, and one shows up just, out of nowhere. Here you go. Here's a free trolling motor. Amen. And my batteries are good, so uh, my biggest issue is that the batteries are so damn heavy, and putting them up in the boat on top of the trailer. Motherfuckers are heavy. Help it! Lifting them into the boat, for crying out loud. But anyway, it's going to be a fun excursion for me because when I grew up, we had a 10-foot John boat, just an aluminum John boat, and had a little motor on it. You used to putz around in that. Now, we didn't have no trolling motors and nothing fancy. It was just a little gas motor when I was growing up in the 60s and early 70s. And I think Pop sold the boat and the motor and everything when they sold their property on the lake up there, south of Brooksville. Anyway, no, north of Brooksville. Anyway, the lake dried up. Um, it wasn't Lakefoot property anymore. It was just a campsite. But anyway, that has been the extent of my personal motorboat thing. Now, I've been out on the water with other people with their motorboats and sailboats and things. But personally, so since then, I've been basically strictly canoe until I bought the kayak. Well, I think I've had the one now for almost 10 years now. Yeah, it has been 10 years. So, and then my orange one about the last 6 years. But so I've been a paddler. So to go back to any kind of powered boat that's plastic like this, is it is totally different for me and where I normally am or go. So, but I am looking forward to being able to take the camera and being able to take, and not be stressed all the time. And maybe actually catch some fish too. Um, I do know how to fish. I haven't fished in a long time, so the whole thing will be an experience. And the fact that I'll be 71 in 2 months, yay team, after heart attacks and back surgery, I'm gonna go fishing down the Oclocking River and some other rivers. And because it's can be trailered and boated and all that kind of thing, I'm not limited just to just one river now. There's a couple of other places I can go now, um, because of the type of boat and everything, and the fact that it'll be under power. And if I can get my gas motor fixed, which is right out there by the trailer, then I'll be able to go to a lot of other places, and that's going to open up some um, adventures, because there's been some places I've been wanting to go. And with Duggar, I couldn't leave him home. It would hurt me to leave him home to go fishing by myself. But to go explore some of these places and be able to take Doug and be able to take a little bit of equipment and not have to be scrunched in a kayak or something. I'm all prepared for that. But as old as I am now and everything, it'd be nice to just upgrade. And a 10-foot plastic boat with a trolling motor, that's my upgrade. Yeah, it was aluminum 10-footer, a little flat bottom, a little square, you know, stable as hell. Had 3 seats in it. You could fit four people, but it was, that was enough. But I was trying to remember, it was it was a 5 horse or less, so it was a small motor. But man, it put. I remember going down to Myakka River State Park, and we were down there in a couple of lakes that are attached by a small, well, it used to be a small, like little, well, it was part of the Myakka River. So, big, it opened up big lake, and then it went back down to the river, and you went down a little ways, and it opened back up into another big lake. A lot of gators, a lot of gators. But just putzed all over them lakes. Just had a ball when we'd go down there. And there was a couple other lakes, and up and down the Hillsborough River, of course, where we close to where we live. So had a lot of fun with that little 10-footer, or was it 12? Huh? Hey, Doug, what's up? What you need? He's wagging his tail. What you need? It's by my clock. It's 4:30 in the morning. Yep, by that clock. Oh, that's 3:30. Anyway, what you want? Wag your tail. What you want down there? Huh? What? What? Shake your head. Am I in your chair? Am I in your chair? So anybody want to go? Anybody want to go fishing or kayaking? And thinking about this $800 I just spent on this thing in the course of the last 4 months. Um, you, but I helped a friend out big time. Um, you know, my thought is it's odd how the boat is plastic and how the seats are and how to walk and this, that, and the other thing. Anyway, this bass hunter thingy hound boat. Um, if I wanted to carry any decent amount of equipment, it'd be difficult to store it in this boat. So my thought is that depending on, if I were to take a big trip, and if I could get my if I could get my gas motor going, then I could really take some river trips and some lake trips too. That I just wouldn't have to paddle across some of these lakes that are down here, and I could really do some adventuring. And my brother and I, when we went in together on a Canoe. It was a 12-footer, I think, and we'd went several places fishing. And in fact, the motor that we used is the motor I have out here that I'm hoping will still work. So I know it'll push a boat really well, and this little thing should be, no big deal. So if I can get my gas motor going, and now 2 trolling motors, I'm really set. Let's go on an adventure. Who wants to go with me? Won't cost you anything. Just get here. And if you're not from Georgia and you want a fishing license, well, you know, But anyway, what I'm thinking of is towing one of my kayaks with the extra gear that I want. So if I've got, my tent and everything and a couple of other tarps or whatever, that won't stow in this 10 footer, I'll just tow a kayak behind me. And because I've done it before when I had the canoe and I had the trolling motor hooked up, and thank God I didn't get caught for it. But I towed a kayak behind me, and it did just fine. So depending on where I want to go and what's going to happen, I'll load some of my gear and all the light stuff, but that will take up space, and maybe a cooler which sits down in there really well. Um, and then tow it behind the little bassy boat thingy, and haul ass and go camping with Duggar and anybody else that wants to go. So, but anyway, yep, fall is coming up, and I'm doing better walking around. The amount of walking that I did today was astronomical compared to what I've been doing. Um, I've been wearing my back brace on purpose. Um, I am getting stronger. I've got to go back tomorrow for another water session. Boy, it was really nice yesterday. Man, that water was great. So I'm looking forward to another session, and it may be my last session. We'll see. We're going to have a conference tomorrow scheduled. Um, so we'll see. I'm hoping that they gave. I missed 3, so I'm hoping that they will reschedule me 3 more that I missed. That's what I'm hoping for. But I want to be able to get strong enough here that when Duggar and I do go down to the river, I want to be able to go swimming. Um, and I want to make sure that my back is well enough. I want to make sure that my bobbing up and down. So, you know, I'm not scared of the river, but for some reason I'm scared that after the surgery, everything feels different. How I kicked my legs in the pool the other day was just odd. And, I was almost afraid to let go of the side, even though it was only like 5 feet deep. Um, because my back and whatever, it felt it, I, I don't, it felt odd. I'm kicking my legs, and I've known how to swim for years, for 60 years at least. And, all of a sudden I feel clumsy in a pool trying to kick and swim at the same time. So, and I know it's all in my head, but some of it is in my back and the surgery that I had because I feel out of balance or something. So, but anyway, what I'm trying to do with the hydrotherapy is also learn how to swim again. So when Doug and I do get down to the river, which is going to be soon, now that I found a plug for the boat, I'm telling you, we're going to be, it might be this weekend. Yes, sir. So I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, so there are simple things in life that can take the stress out of stuff. Okay, well, before my operation, me and Doug were paddling, and I was perfectly happy, don't get me wrong. But this being able to motorboat around a little bit, is going to bring just a whole new dimension to stuff. So I don't, it's like a new chapter. Doug and I were going to go back to the river anyway, and we had found another river there at up above the Reed Bingham State Park, um, where was the last place we went kayaking, and I found a new place to go. Um, Beautiful. It was unexpected how nice it was, and the upper reaches of the I don't know what the lake is called at Reed Bingham. I guess it's Reed Bingham Lake. But the upper reaches of the river before it turns really into the lake is really pretty up there. And I've been scoffing it for the last 40 years. And the river, it's really nice up above the lake. So I'm looking forward to going back. And I found another place that to go fishing in that I did not expect. So, you know, a new chapter. We'll see how well my back works. And since the this boat is on a trailer, I don't have to lift it. So now we can go exploring, and I don't have to lift up the kayak. Um, Great news. So, that will help me get. Uh, you'll find what works for you. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of adjustments I got to make. All this stuff is just so new to me, and in this plastic boat. And, if it was a 10-foot John boat, like I grew up with, it'd be totally different, but it's not. It's a plastic boat with seats in it, and it's formed around and like this. And, you know, okay, I got it. It's mine now, you know. But and really, I think I would have just preferred just a 10-foot regular John boat. But I got this bass hound now, so that's what it is. But me and Duggar are going to find out short. I'm putting a plug in the back of that thing. And you know what? Here's the thing. I asked the universe to give me an idea. And I was like, so I went out there and looked at the hole and I said, okay, I had a plug, it didn't fit. It was too small and blah, blah, blah. All right, universe, what do I do? And the answer came. And then this afternoon, when I was out there trying to work it out, I had two different sizes of bolts and combinations because of the little dream I had, and went out there with the shortest bolt I had, my first choice, and threaded right in. I was like, I solved my problem. Thank you to the universe. So when I tell folks to accept and receive the knowledge and the healing and the wisdom from the universe, I mean it because I practice it. And today and yesterday, the other day, when I was like, now, how do I get a plug in there? What do I do? I went this way and went. So I'm a redneck. How do I fix this? I'm an old carny. How do I fix this? Hey, Sheila, I was sitting up waiting for you. Was telling everybody about 2 hours ago how great the grass looks after Mr. Ricky came down here and mowed it. And we had to jump him off, but that poor old thing would not crank up. It was so hot, and Ricky was just as hot as that mower was. I felt bad for him because he was just a sweating. But I thank you. I thanked him too. I was like, man, he was mowing way out there by the fence. I said, "What you doing mowing over there?" Well, it looks good, but and I and it does. It looks great, but the grass was so thick and tall in places. You know, he left rows of cut grass, just furrows of Um, I used to when back in the day when I had chickens, I would rake it up and use it for bedding in their nest, in their nest, right? Um, it makes really good bedding, that cut grass. But yeah, it looks good, and as it was drying out, it smelled good tonight too. When the dew is starting to fall on it, you know how that fresh cut grass smell is. There's a whole field of it out there now. But now I can walk around. The grass was so thick up in between the shed and the thing that it was so thick it was hard for me to just walk through it. It was all Ricky could do to mow through it. Yeah, really thick. But anyway, thank you. I'll tell him thanks again next time I see him. But I thought I was going to have to push start that lawnmower with my truck. Wait a minute, I got a chain. I'll just drag it back down to the house. It ain't but down around and But anyway, we got started back. That was good. And it's nice to have wonderful neighbors like you, Sheila, you and Ricky, let me tell you. But listen, everybody, it's been almost 3 hours and I was going to go to bed. And then Spirit said, no, you're going to do a show tonight because there's some people that are sitting up and, you need to get on tonight. This is one of them nights where no planning, no nothing, you know, um, other than the thought that's like in the title, you know, how to keep the faith, baby. Well, how you keep the faith is you find something that'll occupy your mind. And especially if it's something that, makes you feel good. Like, that silly plastic boat. It ain't really what I wanted, but okay. But working on it gives me joy that I'm fixing it up and that me and Duggar are going to go on an adventure. And I'm looking forward to that. And all these other things. So, you know, having something that'll make you smile, having something that, gives you an accomplishment. Wow, I found the plug for that boat when it was going to be this and that and the other thing, and I got it fixed. I fixed it. I fixed it. With a little enlightenment from the universe. And it's going to work just fine. So there are some things that you like. Well, I don't know. Oh, damn, where's the plug at? I don't know. Well, I'm going to have to order one. Well, how? Well, you got to get in touch with this company, and then you got to do this, then you got to do that. Well, I want to go fishing tomorrow. So let me, fixed it. But anyway, so to the universe is my point. I gave the question to the universe and said, "Give me an idea. What can I do?" So when the idea came, and I said, okay, now help me expound on it. So I made it to the shop and everything worked out fine. So, to the universe, if something's bothering you, you got an issue or whatever, give it to the universe and say, okay, look, I've run out of ideas. I'm out of stuff, I'm just going to sit here on the front porch and watch the storm go by, like I talked about earlier. And I'm just going to ask the universe, just give me an idea. Get just I know there's a solution out there. I'm going to give it to you. Now there are people, and that to the it ain't wrong, but there are people like I gave my problems to Jesus. Okay, that's very similar, and that's okay. But here's the thing: in my years of living, I realized that I didn't have to use the word Jesus to have the universe help me. And as somebody said earlier, like Jesus, he's got his hands full, he's got enough stuff to do. Why mess with me? So, and that was sort of like the message I got from Mother Mary. It was like, you know, I'm always around. Don't worry about it. Have faith and believe. And I was like, okay. So once I really believed and once I knew that the entities were there and if I really needed that specific help, I could call upon it. But that the universe basically had the answers that I needed just by saying, okay, universe, I got a puzzle here. And, without getting upset and frantic, which is one thing I had to learn, you have to let it go and go, okay, I know there's a solution. See what you can come up with. But you got to have faith. You got to believe. So when all of this stuff of all of this chaos, you just continue to believe. Well, the answer might not come today, but if I just kind of keep it lit, like remember, I need an idea for the boat. Yeah, okay. And then I just, and I'll get busy with doing something else, and watching something, reading something, but somewhere along the line, I'll go, remember, I'm still waiting for a solution for my problem. Yeah, okay, no problem. And just keep humming along, Well, there's nothing pressing with me fixing the boat, right? But so when I was working, there were problems that occurred every hour. And I would just say, okay, I got to let okay, universe, help me out with this one. But I would literally have to get in my truck and take a smoke break and leave the plant, drive around for 20, 30 minutes and come back. And most of the time, I had a solution. Most of the time. And I just gave it up to the universe and took a drive around the neighborhood and smoked me a little bowl. And that was that. But I've almost always had a solution, and which astounded me. Okay. And people say, well, Dave, you're just bragging about, well, I don't have to brag. It was fact. So that's why they kept me on. And that's why I still had a job where a lot of other people had been laid off. So it was the fact that I could give my problems, and they were mechanical and machines or whatever, and give it up to the universe and take a deep breath and allow the solutions to come in. So, do I believe and believe and believe and believe? Absolutely. So, I don't have near as many problems now. I'm not confronted with, you know, machines breaking down, and as an engineer having to, you know, have the solutions and fix them right away. And you got bosses screaming, and production is down. I get it. I worked in them high stress situations, and now that I'm retired, I don't have that. But at the same time, there are little things around the farm that still require a little bit of ingenuity, especially after, it's been a good year now since my heart attack, and my being able to just run around and fix things because my back was bad a year ago after the heart attack. So, I'm much slower than I was 2 years ago. So there's a lot of things around here that have been sitting for 2 years that was just gonna, it should have took me, maybe 2 weeks, but now it's been 2 years. So I got a lot of backing up. I got a lot of old stuff that I need to dig out. And Miss Sheila, your hubby Ricky, um, cutting the grass today gave me access back to the yard and to the shed. I can take the weed eater and get up and back to the shed, which is one of my big, things I need to do is get back to the shed because these weeds have just grown out from the side of the shed. And I mean, some of them are almost as tall as my head. Get your boat ready and we can float the river and fish. Y'all catch and clean and I'll cook it. I'm ready, Sheila. I am. Ricky says, I think you all got a boat, don't you, with a motor on it? I'm ready. I told him, I said, the first time I go fishing, I'd like for him to go with me in that boat because it's been so long since I have backed a boat trailer into the water. And I was like, this is all new to me, My kayak sat on top of the truck and I pulled it off and threw it in the water. And it was that easy. One reason why I had kayaks. But yeah, now that I found a plug for it, I am ready. I am ready. Two trolling motors, two batteries, all charged up. Um, I'm ready. And I haven't been on the O'Clockney in over a year. And is it Rogers Landing? Anyway, this upriver from the um, um, Reed Bingham Lake at the park there. I really liked it upriver on the little river. It was really nice up there. I really liked it, and I want to go back. And me and Duggar been there once. So and there was nobody on the river when you where you put in there to at Rogers. I think Roberts Landing. And since my I'm all legal and ready to go fishing, I'm ready to go fishing. It's even got a live well bait thing in the boat. So we'll see how it works when I put it in the water. But anyway, yeah, I'm ready to just go down the road to the 19 bridge and put the boat in. But yeah, I always make this, and I mean it. If you're in the neighborhood, let me know. Let's, especially now that I'm walking better and getting around better. Let's go fishing, or at least go boating. At least go take a ride and go paddle or whatever. So anyway, I love you all. I need to get to bed so I can get up and go have my water therapy tomorrow. And I don't. There's something else I think I'm supposed to do tomorrow, but I can't remember. But anyway, so I love you all. Red Roberts, love you. Spot. Yeah, there are lots on the float. Yep, it was really nice up there. I For the last 30 some odd years, I've been poo pooing Reed Bingham, and I've been on the Little River down from the dam and have not been impressed because it looks like the Ochlockonee River, and the Ochlockonee River is a lot closer. And so have not really been impressed by the Little River. But when I put in up there above the lake, and I was like, oh man, this is not what I expected. It does not look like downstream. And it's beautiful. And the fact that it's dammed up and the flow is real slow, it's easy paddling up or down. Yeah, Red Roberts Landing. Yeah. So, but anyway, beautiful wildlife, There was waterfowl kind of thing because it's like a lake, not just the river. Um, but, the water was clear, and me and Duggar loved it. I was really surprised. So, but anyway, looking forward to going back. And now that I got all this stuff, I'm like, come on, I'm ready to go. Come on. I'm like a little, yeah, okie dokie. Come on, let's go. So, but anyway, I love you all. And you can thank the spirits for making me get on this morning. I knew that Chloe and folks out there, needed conversation. And talking about the boat and going fishing. Ooh, that's like, oh boy. And the fact that y'all just sit here and listen to me yak about this shit just surprises me to no end. But anyway, I'll think about y'all when I'm floating, and I'll get my camera and everything out and see about, doing some video and uploading that. Because some of these places are really pretty. And I've seen some of the video that I've taken, and it really, looking at the video, really doesn't do it justice. And I've been there. I took the video, but to look at it, just like it looks surreal to me. So the video doesn't do it justice at all, because there's a feel and there's a smell and there's the water and now there's the skeeters and but anyway, well, I absolutely continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe. But you have to allow it. You have to believe it, and I've just had so much practice over the years of having little problems and giving it up and just going, okay, there it is. And then 10 or 15 or 20 minutes later, you just bing, an answer comes to you. And it's happened too many times to me over the years. And so that's my proof to me that it works. But you got to believe it and you got to trust in it. And you can't force it. It doesn't work. I have had problems with machines, and I'd sit there and concentrate and concentrate and concentrate, and nothing worked. And I'd give it up and walk around the plant, go outside, smoke a cigarette, come back in and go ding, and there would be the answer. So, and I mean, I worked there for over 7 years, and there were problems every day, and I worked on over 2 shifts. So there was a lot of problems that needed fixing, and a lot of giving it up to the universe is my point. And so, does it work? Yeah, please believe it. Find your own core. That core is law of one. In my lifetime, I wish to do no harm. That's who I am, and that's what I believe. And I believe in the Great Spirit. That's all I need. And I can believe it, believe it, believe it, believe it, and believe it. I have faith. And I have faith because I pray every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings that can come out of the universe. So, you got to trust in it. And sometimes you have to work on it too. If you're going to have an adventure in life, then you have to take an adventure. You have to push for it. You can't just sit still. And just going outside and watching a storm go by, or taking a drive in the country, or just going somewhere different, or depending on where you live, to go find some place that, you know, if you live in the city, go find the top of a building to go sit and watch the sun go down, or whatever it may be. But trust in it, trust in yourself. We all have the knowledge of the universe at our disposal. We just have to believe it. And I believe if I keep praying, that you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in the universe. That's why I come on at 2 in the morning, because I believe in y'all and I trust in y'all. And I trust that you're going to, if you don't already understand it, that you will continue to get it, because it's an ongoing thing as you get older. You got it, you get it, you feel it, but then every day that goes by, you get it just a little bit more. And you're a little bit more sure of yourself. And you feel just a little bit more confident. And you go, I got it. I had it yesterday, but I got it just a little bit better today. And I understand it, but it really feels comfortable that I understand it this well. And there are different realizations that come along with it. And the more that you believe it and the more that you understand it as just being a simple thing. My religion is law of one. And don't let anybody fool you. Oh, that's hanky panky bullshit and stuff. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. With all the religions around the world, it all boils down to the same thing. It doesn't matter what religion you all are praying to the same, quote, deity. It's God, it's the supreme being, it's the great spirit. Yep, that's the universe. It's source energy. So it's out there, it's with us always, and just believe it. So until next time, I love you. Please be safe. Keep your fingers crossed I make it on time for my hydrotherapy tomorrow, because I've been here for, it's almost 5:20 in the morning. Holy crap. So smoke a bowl for me. I'm going to get off of here. But I love you. Be safe. And you can make it through the chaos. You know, have faith in yourself. No matter how ratty or natty or crazy it gets, take a deep breath. You can make it. You've made it this far. So I love you. Be safe. And until next time, cheers. Oh, by the way, for those of you who have not heard from Dante recently, he just posted a video the other day of bombs going off, almost over his house over there, wherever he is. So, there have been some folks that asked me about Dante, and I told him, I said, because we haven't heard really, yet, hadn't posted much, if anything. And I said, they're in the war zone over there. I said, they're doing their best to keep their heads down. And lo and behold, this video shows up yesterday. I saw it. And I was like, there he is taking video with his phone of drones going over his house and bombs going off in the not too distant, 15 kilometers, a little over 10 miles. And that's pretty close. That's like from here to Meigs or from here to Coolidge and bombs going off. So, yeah, okie doke. So, but anyway, he's alive and kicking, at least from the video. But they are in a war zone. So, we keep our prayers going for those folks that we know over there and hope that they make it through and that the solution is resolved. So, I love you all. Dante seems to be as safe as possible. And so, you know, the war continues on all levels. Keep the faith. Until next time, I love you and cheers and wee.